and welcome back to Lauren's Day. As you see, we got the Kim Peplet shirt on. Let's already get into the episode 3 of Percy Jackson and Olympians review. I'm so excited to talk to you all about it. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already, and let's get into it. Alright, real quick. So, as y'all know, episode 3 actually is Percy going to see the Oracle, picking the 3 heroes that he's going to take with him, the 2 heroes that he's going to take on his quest with him, and then also him going on the bus, dealing with the Furies once again, also going to Auntie M's Guardian Emporium. And it's also the first time we really get to see our Celestial Trio kind of really working in action, working together as a team. And let me just tell you, I love this episode. I don't know where everyone else is feeling. Like, I personally am just obsessed with the show. I'm just so excited. Like, my sister and I were literally counting down the days, counting down the hours. We were so excited about this episode, especially because, I don't know, I was just really excited to see Medusa. I was really excited to see what they were going to do, because I knew that they were going to kind of add a little bit more depth to that scene, or to that, I would say scenes, because it was like half the episode. And they kind of talked about how they were going to kind of make some edits, make some changes, because there were a lot of things that in the original story, we automatically just want to make her a villain, instead of really seeing that her story, you know, Poseidon was real messed up, very messed up. And it's also, again, kind of showing this like kind of acknowledgement of the gods really not being great, in terms of they will use you to get what they want, but they're most of the time they're not caring about how that affects you as a person. And so kind of like what we saw in episode 2 with Grover kind of stepping in and making sure Percy was taken care of, in the sense of like, no, take advantage of this quest to help your mom, you know? So I really love that they kind of delve deep into Medusa's story. Like, that still doesn't give her right to do what she's doing. But, you know, she was cursed that way. It wasn't a situation in which, you know, she was just like this and she purposefully does it. This is just kind of her, you know, life situation. And I think it was really great of the show to be able to kind of talk about it in that way. So I really, really, really loved that part of it. I also just want to kind of delve into all the Perciveth we got in this episode, all of just the moments between our Celestial Trio, all of those things. But, you know, I think it was just really important for me to kind of talk about first the really quick synopsis, but also just kind of talking about how they really delved deep into Medusa's story and gave us a little bit more into kind of looked at the nuanced aspects of it. So let's go on into our main 3. So the main 3, oh my gosh, Percy, Annabeth, Grover. These 3 actors, Walker, Leah, and Arian, y'all are just loving it. The thing was, I think I really loved episode 2, as you all know. I will put it up in a card right here in case you haven't watched it. But I really, really loved episode 3, because we really got to see those characters kind of, like, the actors really get comfortable in their characters. I love Walker as Percy again. I love Leah as Annabeth. I love Arian as Grover. I think they just do such a phenomenal job in bringing these characters to life, and then also giving them this extra oomph, you know? I know a lot of people, like, not a lot of people, a lot of my friends were kind of a little iffy about Walker in our first couple episodes. They didn't think he was, like, making a lot of emotions. I disagree with my friends. I thought he was doing a great job. I thought, you know, he was doing what he could with what he was given. You know, I don't think we can really put it all on actors. I think it's also Disney kind of, and I was talking about this with 2 of my other friends, is like, with Disney kind of being in charge of this show, there are a lot of things that are going to be toned down, and we were warned about that. So I think that's one of the biggest things, that I don't find it fair that people are kind of putting that on actors. I don't think they're dealing with what they have to deal with, right? In terms of like the action sequences, and, you know, in terms of how scared he's looking, how is he kind of portraying that, representing that. Like, I think the only time we were kind of like, dude, what are you doing, is like the first action sequence with Mrs. Dodds. I told y'all that was the one scene that I was kind of like, but, you know, I think Walker is doing a phenomenal job. I think this episode in particular was one of his best, times as Percy just simply because we got so much sass and I loved it so much. And we also got the vulnerability side or the vulnerable side of Percy. I love what they're really doing in terms of kind of demonstrating Percy really kind of harping on that one line in the quest, like, you will be betrayed by one who calls you friend. And his thought process of picking Grover and picking Annabeth, and the fact that Grover would never do that, right? And then Annabeth, especially because Grover kind of already kind of messed himself up in the show already, but he was like, I don't think Grover would ever do that. And then him saying Annabeth, because he was like, there's no way we'd ever be friends. Then he said that line. I'm like skipping way ahead to that part in the episode, but that line was so just, what? Because that was not in the book. And I kind of like it though, because I think it is that kind of sense of, you know, in the book, we kind of know he just kind of picks Annabeth because, like, she really wanted to go on this quest. And he was like, okay, I'll put you on this quest. But it gave him a little bit more reason why. And he was like, she wouldn't betray me because we're not going to be friends. So, you know, that was, like, his thought process of it. And it was really sad, though, because then, like, Annabeth, aka Leah, was also like, wow. You know, like, that moment between Walker and Leah was just so, like, they just, they ate in this episode. But anyway, I'll get to that in a second. But there were just many lines that Walker was just like perfectly doing and whatnot. And I think he, you know, hurry up pulling out Riptide. I was like, yes. It was just so great. I really enjoyed being able to see him kind of delve deep into the character, put himself into these shoes, and kind of really push himself in multiple aspects. I thought that was so well done and so amazing. I think, like, one of my favorite scenes is, like, the end, like, the last scene where they are in Medusa's garden emporium, and he's about to sing the song. The song, y'all. Oh, golly. That was so uncalled for, and I loved it so much because I'm like, this is it right here. This is our golden trio. I completely vibed with that. I thought it was so well done and so perfect for the show. I thought it made so much sense, and it adds a little thing that is, you know, unique to our show trio, and I'm so excited for that to just be making appearances throughout the season, throughout the show itself. I think it was just so funny. And so Walker, as Percy doing that in the end, he was like, no, y'all, we're going to move forward. We're going to keep going. I love it. And I was so here for it. It was so funny and so adorable. Loved it. But yeah, I think Walker ate. I think he did an amazing job. You know, he left no crumbs. Yeah, like, again, I feel like I'm at that point in the show where I'm just going to allow it to be the show and be our representation of the novels. I don't find a lot of point in, like, dissing, like, the really minute things. I feel like there are a lot of the times of things that I've been reading on social media and people's thoughts and whatnot, like, they're harping on things that are, like, I think Disney prepared us for mentally. Like, I think one of the biggest arguments is, like, the action sequences are not as intense as they really like. But as I was saying a little earlier, like, Disney told us ahead of time, it's not going to be as scary, it's not going to be as graphic, it's not going to be as violent. So I think people really need to get out of that because it's not going to get there. I'm just not that pressed about it. I think in the next episodes, as I said in the last video, I think as we continue going on the quest, we're going to have more intense scenes, more in-depth things going on. So I'm not dissing it. I'm not going to. It's not that big a deal to me at this moment. I think if it just keeps happening to the point where they're using this excuse for not putting a lot of effort into it, then that's when I'll say something. But I genuinely still think that the scenes are doing really well for what we have right now. I really love the bus scene. I think Walker, like, jumping out the window, that was so cool. I was like, whoa. Cause that's a bus window, y'all. Like, that was stressful. I would have been, like, terrified to do that. But I'm loving to see that he's already kind of, like, the fact that it's the innate nature that he has in terms of being able to get stuff done and doing things. And I think Walker's doing a phenomenal job with that. And again, I just really loved all the Persassy moments we had this season. I mean, this episode, it was so funny. I was laughing so much at that boy. And someone had tweeted this, like, it's the fact that he doesn't say it to Annabeth, but he'll say it right after she says it and walks away. It's, like, so funny. I love it. But yeah, I personally have no complaints about dear Walker as Percy. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. Okay, I spent a little more time on Walker than I thought I would, but I was also talking about multiple different things. But let's talk Leah as Annabeth. Sis is Eden still. She's just doing such a phenomenal job. Like, oh my gosh. I think what I love about Leah as Annabeth is that I think it makes so much sense for her to be casted as her, because she gives this, like, boy, if you don't get your life moments, and I love it so much, because it is that kind of, like, this is definitely a point in Lightning Thief where we're just like, Annabeth is just like, you're stupid, and he's just like, I don't know why I'm stupid. I don't think I'm doing that. I don't think I'm asking for much. And she was like, you're asking for a lot, actually. And she's really trying to get him to understand, like, this is real life. This is what we have to deal with. It is not something to play around with. It's not something, like, she's so serious and so on it. And I think about this, like, little clip from one of the interviews where Leah's like, you know, there's a lot of moments where I feel like I have to kind of crush their dreams. And Walker's like, yeah, you're really good at that. And I was like, dude, but it was like, I know he was being funny, but then when you see it, like, she's really good at just, like, getting them in line. And I think that's so perfect, because Annabeth is no nonsense. She's just like, no, I'm not dealing with this right now. We have something to do. This is the reality. I have a whole plan. And I love how we're really kind of zeroing in on her having that plan. I think it's so great, and you see it in multiple different aspects, how she's so analytical, and how she's looking at something, and how she's, you know, making comments about this thing. She's so analytical, and I think that's so great, because I think it's demonstrating that, you know, Annabeth is like, this is how we, you know, end out on top. This is what we do. This is how we got to go about it. She's really thinking, you know, 6 steps. Every time I think about it, she's always 6 steps ahead, as Luke said. I think it's so true, and I think Leah is demonstrating that so well through all of the little things that she does as Annabeth. And I think she is just, she's doing such a phenomenal job. Like, I love that last scene again in, at the end, after they've defeated Medusa, and how they're, you know, arguing, and I feel like the kind of banter between the two was so well done. And it was like, you know, the chemistry between Walker and Leah is like so amazing, because it is that situation of where they both have like an understanding, but they are like so invested in their characters, and like really kind of showing this nuanced beginning to Percy and Annabeth, and how they are kind of, you know, really trying to figure each other out. And I think it's really sticking true to what a lot of the producers were saying, what Rick was saying, and what the actors have been saying about these two in particular. Like, the first few episodes are really them trying to figure each other out. And if you really pay attention to Lightning Thief, that's really what's happening between Percy and Annabeth. And I think they're doing such a phenomenal job of demonstrating that. And I think, you know, Leah, she's doing a great job of being kind of really deliberate about what she's showing about Annabeth, what she's not showing about Annabeth. And in this sense, you know, we really started to see her kind of like break out of the shell, especially when, you know, Percy said, you know, the only reason I picked you is because we would never be friends. And she was just like, she was like, wow, okay. And there was another moment where he was like, I say we just keep, you know, the hat on her head and, you know, go. And she's just like, sure. You know, and it's like those moments of just like, I can't really deal with this. Like, it's just like, are you really kidding me right now? And she's just like, you know what? Go ahead. Do it. Just, you know, just do it. Because I think, especially in this episode, Percy really was trying to do his own thing. And she was like, that's not going to work. And in almost every instance, it really wasn't going to work. And so I think it kind of got to that point where they were like, Grover kind of had to bring them together. And this is where I'm bringing Arian in right now, because he did a phenomenal job of, again, bringing the empathetic aspects of Grover to the forefront and really trying to get them to understand the bigger picture. And he was like, we got to get over this. And the one thing, real quick, the one line that he said that like really stuck with me was when he was like, to Percy and Annabeth, he was like, you two did not choose to be demigods. None of us were chose to be on this quest. But the one thing we're not going to do is turn our backs on each other. And I thought that was just so well said. Like, there's so many just, oh my gosh. Like, I was getting emotional watching this episode in particular, because I think all three of them are really dealing with some stuff. and they kind of having this heart to heart where it gets really heated and it gets really emotional and it gets really upsetting, but they get to that point of like, okay, we got to figure something out. We got to do something. We can't just keep this back and forth. We're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to trust each other. It's not going to be good. And I think they finally got to that point. Okay, we're trucing for right now. We have a truce. And I really loved how Grover kind of brought them together in that moment. So Aryan like slayed at that. And I think again, there were little things, you know, I think at this point, Annabeth is just kind of, okay, you know, like realizing that she can't necessarily tackle this the same way that she would usually do, because again, she's kind of really being observant of who she's with and who she's, you know, their personalities and everything. And so I really love that aspect of it. So yeah. I think one other thing that I really want to talk about in terms of Percabeth is this, you know, I kind of, before I go into Medusa real quick and before I go into our Hermes cameo, the biggest thing that I want to kind of add in here is the fact of, again, the looks that these two give each other. Again, I talked a lot about this in the last episode review, and I think the biggest thing that I have with this is like the fact that I literally, Amber just showed me a tweet about this, is like how they were arguing the entire episode, but they were still looking at each other like, you know, like just annoying. It's like how Walker as Percy was looking at Leah as Annabeth, and you know how she was just like, you know, and it's I love it because it is that kind of like, oh, we're really starting to get to know each other and we're really starting to have that. And I think Walker and Leah are doing such a phenomenal job of like demonstrating those little things for people to kind of pay attention to, because it's like kind of those little things that, you know, in the book we would get those little things that we were like, oh, you know, I'm here for this. I'm kind of excited for this. And yeah, I think that they're just doing a phenomenal job as our two faves. I just love it so much. Oh my gosh. And Aryan as Grover is just adorable. He's so adorable. I think he's doing such a phenomenal job. He's making Grover so lovable, and Grover is really lovable in the book. Like, I'm not saying he's not, but I think he's adding like this other layer to it where you're just feeling so protective of him that you're just like, oh my gosh, he's so sweet. Like, y'all, listen to Grover, please. You know, he is really trying here. He's really trying. And I just love what Aryan's doing. I think all three of them are just doing a phenomenal job, and they're really paying attention to those little details that a lot of times people may just like overlook in the novels. So I just really love what they're doing. So big things with Medusa. In Alecto as well. And also Annabeth coming in, like just throwing the dagger at Alecto's sister. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I was like, yes, Miss Ma'am. Leah did that thing. I was like, yes. It was so lit. I thought it was amazing. That was so cool. And like that whole scene, that conversation. Oh, this is a big thing again. Also, the conversation that Percy had with Medusa and the conversation that Annabeth had with Alecto with her invisibility cap on was so amazing. I thought it was so great that like, and this is like one of those big Percabeth moments that happened, in the sense that when Alecto was saying, you know, I mean, if you just turn him over, you know, I'll let you continue on your quest without his help. You don't even have to worry about it. And then, you know, of course, Annabeth kind of responds by killing her sister. And then, you know, Percy, you know, in Medusa's conversation, Medusa saying, you know, I can get rid of both of them and then you can keep going and continue on. And Percy, again, you know, deals with by cutting her head off. And that conversation between Percy and Annabeth in that situation, like, well, you know, what about this decision that you can make? Or what about, like, what was this conversation? And what was this conversation? And they're like, well, what did you say? And then they said what they did. And I thought that was, like, so well done, because it was like, ooh. Ooh. So, you know, yeah, I really loved that. Kind of coming back to Medusa and Percy, she was kind of, you know, really kind of demonstrating her story, but kind of getting, you know, it was like, yeah, so this is why you should help me. And I'm like, not in that way, boo. I don't know about that, you know. And I think I think Miss Jessica Parker Kennedy, she like did such a really great job of demonstrating that and like really kind of talking about or really demonstrating the nuanced aspects of Medusa, and I thought that was just so well done. And I kind of talked about that a little earlier, but her really trying to appeal to Percy, Annabeth, and Grover, I thought was so well done. And how, you know, she was like, you know, take it or leave it. This is the reality. This is the situation. You know, I'm not lying to you. This is what we got going on. So I think that was something that I really liked and really appreciated and really thought that was just really well done. And I think, you know, Electo really being in the scene, I thought it was weird though that we kept dealing with her. I don't know if they should have kept her. Oh, well, they did kill her in the end. But I don't know if that was necessarily necessary. I think it was just really kind of random that she was just standing out there just like, you know, and they were connecting it to her not wanting to disappoint Hades, but I don't know, it just was still kind of, I don't know if it was necessary. I think it was just kind of just random at that point. One thing that I thought was interesting is that we didn't go a long time with not knowing if she was Medusa or not. I think this made more sense. I think this was what changed from the novel that made a little more sense in terms of like Annabeth paying attention, and she's like, Auntie Ems, y'all, who else could that be? And then she was like, look at all the statues over here. I thought that made a lot more sense, and her being able to say, y'all need to keep your heads down and whatnot. I think it's, again, kind of connecting to Annabeth really being 6 steps ahead, really paying attention to her surroundings and kind of preparing them for it. And then kind of going into this conversation with Medusa is really interesting. I'm really interested to see what you all think about that change. Please let me know in the comments, because I think it's an interesting thing, and it kind of adds to what could potentially happen. I think it was a nice change, but I mean, other people can think differently, so let me know in the comments what y'all thought about that. But, you know, all in all, I thought this was a really great episode. I'm really excited again for the next episode. I think the 4th episode, Rick himself said, once the 4th episode happens, it's like everything else is just top tier. So I think, you know, again, we're just building. But from what I see from the preview of the 4th episode, this is when, you know, I plunged to my death. This is that point in the novel. I'm really, really excited about it. I wonder if they're going to have the poodle, because I'm pretty sure the poodle is around this point too. One thing that I was expecting in this episode that we didn't get was the seaweed brain wise girl beginning, right? Because I'm pretty sure it happens like right around those chapters. So I was a little sad. I was like really looking forward to that. But hopefully it comes out next episode. I know they're going to have to use it. Leah's called Percy, or called Walker seaweed brain multiple times, so I wonder, hopefully it'll come up at some point. It kind of needs to. But I think that was like those are like my 2 things where it was kind of like the Electo just being in there for a long time, and then also the fact we didn't have seaweed brain and wise girl. But again, it's not that deep. It's really not that. It's not that it like messed up my whole view of the episode. Oh my gosh, y'all. I like completely forgot to talk about Hermes making his first appearance. Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hermes making his first appearance. That was like a little clip at the end that none of us were expecting. And I thought it was so funny that he was bringing in Medusa's head in the box. He was like, y'all, you're not going to believe this. I was so excited. Like, my sister and I were screaming. You know, a lot of people have been kind of shady about Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hermes, and I'm like, why though? I think it's because y'all don't like him, and like, is he perfect? No, but I don't think he deserves all this hate. Like, they just can't stand the man. And I'm like, I'm not here for it. He is still a genius, whether you like it or not. He's a genius. And so him being, his being Hermes is like so amazing and such a great like little thing there. And it was also one little other thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of like when Chiron was trying to get Percy to kind of pick, you know, from all of the camp counselors of who could go with him on this quest, how he didn't even finish, and this boy was like, Annabeth. And then she was like, oh, you know, like she was like, okay, let's go, you know. And I think it was just really, really sweet. Like, because I was just like, oh, but now we know why. But I feel like I'm still going to take that moment. I thought it was still really cute. So I just had to, like, really film this clip. I was literally in the middle of editing it. So if it's weird in my placement. I'm going to try to make it make sense in the placement of everything. But yeah, I just really loved that. I thought it was so well done, so cute, so perfect. Yay. But anyway, yeah, sorry. So I'm giving the episode 10 out of 10 once again. So I think that brings my overall score of the show to like 9.6, 9.7. I'm not actually doing math. I'm just doing what I want. But yeah, please again, let me know in the comments what you think. Alright everyone, well I hope you all enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for my episode 4 review that will be up next Wednesday as well. I hope you all enjoyed the 3rd episode. Again, let me know in the comments your thoughts overall, and I hope you all had a wonderful holidays situation. Christmas is on Monday, New Year's is coming up, and for all the other holidays that people may be celebrating, I hope you all are all having a happy holiday season, staying safe, and I'm really thinking of those who have lost loved ones, or this time is just not the greatest week. But let's conclude the video. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't give it a thumbs down. That's just rude. Also subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and make sure to stay tuned to some more of my videos. I'm going to be filming some more videos before the end of the year because I want to do some kind of like rankings of my favorite novels. I've been staying in the loop with a lot of 2023 novels, so I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do like a top 5, top 10 2023 novels, or out of the series, you know, books that we came out, because we had 2 Percy Jackson verse novels come out this year, Chalice of the Gods and The Sun and the Star, which I read both. We also had Chain of Thorns at the beginning of the year. As y'all know, I made 3 videos on that. So I don't know what made take number 1 on the top. So I'm going to be planning out that video and putting it out as soon as I can, and also giving you my overall how many books that I read over this year. The total at this point is 54 novels, so I hit my Goodreads challenge. I'm really excited about that. But anyway, stay tuned and continue staying safe, continue enjoying yourselves. Hopefully everything is going well, and stay tuned for my next few videos. Alright, I'll see y'all later. Bye.